Thanks for that support from top to bottom. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it very much. And also, please give thanks to Ronnie Jane, those of you that were here earlier. She provided some great entertainment for us. And, and these very strange-looking people who just showed up here, these are the billionaires, and you'll be hearing from them right after you're done hearing with me. I wanted to thank my fellow board members from Southern California Americans for Democratic Action who helped put on this event, and that's Judy Bustani, Rosalie Wayne, Lydia Brazan, Sue Reimers, Harmony Lee, and Phil Kinoshita. Please thank them very much for all their work.
I'm on that too.
Well, yeah, but you've already been. And then I wanted to, Tom mentioned some of the people who have endorsed my campaign, but there's some very special people who are here too that I'd like to recognize, starting with Lila Garrett, who my former boss for Southern California Americans for Democratic Action. Mary Ann Early, who's on the Democratic National... Mary Ellen Early. What did I say? Mary Early? I have it written down right here. Who's on the Democratic National Committee. I appreciate her being here. Bob Handy, my golf mentor and former regional director of the California Democratic Party, and his wife Donna with us. Rick Tuttle, former city controller for the City of Los Angeles. Thank you, Rick, for being here. And Goran Erickson, who is the incoming president of the Culver City Chamber of Commerce. Chairman. Steve Rose is the president, right? Correct. We won't get those mixed up. Also wanted to introduce a couple of people who are involved in my campaign, including Tyrone Washington, who's here doing photography for us. Sylvia Moore, my videographer. Evelyn Jerome, who's going to be doing my mail program for me in the back. And my sister. Where's my sister? Jackie, come on out here. Jackie? Jackie Clarke, my treasurer, campaign treasurer. She's here, obviously, to accept whatever contributions that you have. So thanks very much for that.
Thank you.
As the button says, I love Culver City, and I know that one of the reasons that you're here is because you love Culver City too. I've lived in Culver City for 17 years, but I first moved here in 1977. And because of work and family matters, I had to relocate a couple of times. But I've always come back here because my heart is here in Culver City. And I've lived here for 11 of the past 15 years. When I left Culver City to go back to Washington, D.C. to become Chief of Staff for former Congresswoman Diane Watson, Culver City was still a relatively quiet, sort of unknown, small town community. I always loved it because it seemed like it was close to everything. 20 minutes to LAX, 20 minutes to downtown Los Angeles, and the best weather ever that was here. Things that we really liked about it. I come back 4 years later, and suddenly, it's now this vibrant hot spot on the west side. 3 wine bars, can you believe that? And it's no longer an unknown destination. But I also found that Culver City still was able to retain this small town community character, which is so important to everyone here. And that's one of the reasons that I'm running. I want to continue to maintain Culver City as a vibrant place, destination. But I also want it to be a great place to live and a great place to raise a family. And I don't just want Culver City to be a vibrant hotspot for nightlife. I want it to also be a vibrant hotspot for business as well, too. While we have a lot of major companies in this town, the majority of the revenues that the city derives from to be able to run its programs comes from our small businesses. And so what I want to do is try to work with our businesses to thrive and to be able to grow. Also, being a great place to live means being able to provide a high level of services for the people that live here because they've come to expect that. To that end, I pledge to work closely with my fellow council members and city staff to try to be able to continue to do more things like the cultural events that we're doing even as we're facing a decrease in revenues. But the big issue that's facing the city happens to be the loss of the redevelopment agency. Redevelopment has been a driving force behind our vibrant city. It collects and retains tax revenues in the city that not only benefit city services, but benefit the schools and benefit nonprofit organizations. The city is still in the process of calculating what the loss will be, but I assume from what I've heard from people it's somewhere in the range of $4 to $6 million. In addition, the city has had an ongoing structural deficit that was reduced from $9 million to about $4 million, but it's still there. And then we had an actuarial calculate that the liability to the city for retiree medical is $200 million. It's one of the reasons we had to deal with issues on the retirement and benefits rolls. So the challenging issue I think that I will be facing, and the other, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, is how to maximize taxpayer dollars to maintain a high level of services during this period of prolonged economic stability. So let me share some thoughts about that. First, we have to be prepared to think outside the box. We can no longer afford to continue business as usual in the way that we do things in Culver City. Second, we need to look at our existing contracts and our user fees to ensure that we're maximizing the revenues that are derived from those, and that they're fair and consistent across the board. One example, somebody just recently told me that they believe that over the last 8 years we may have lost $100,000 in fees that we could have gotten from an electronic recycling contract. Those are the kinds of things that we need to look at. Steve Gorley's told me about an issue coming up regarding the pipeline that runs through behind the big lots that we need to take a look at as well.